As far as the suspension, Mr. Chairman, we'd only asked the police department's position is that the suspension be not less than the last suspension 4 years ago, as long as it's at least equal to, yeah, I think it was 3 days, we would have no objection.
Okay. Did they sell on Sundays?
Yes, they do. Make everyone down to you.
I'm sorry.
Steve finished.
I have 3 days in mind, so I was
Will
going
it happen to be around Labor Day weekend?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, I would think, it helps send the message home too. Right. I was thinking,
2, 3, 4.
I was thinking 2, 3, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of September. So I had in mind.
Okay.
Put everybody on notice.
Motion.
Motion, please?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move to suspend for 3 days on September
Second,
2, 3, and 4, the package store / wine and malt beverage license of Shakeen Kahan DBA Convenience Plus 7 Main Street.
Second.
further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board.
Mr. Key said that your client does realize he will bring that license to the town hall. Bring
Yes,
the license
yes,
to us.
I'll make sure.
Yeah, make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We should make a note that in December, when we're renewing the licenses, maybe we should send a letter out to all the license holders in advance with the
Ask him
list
to
of
copy.
requirements that we want.
Karen usually handles it, Karen Marlin. And just bring a note to her that it seems to be the consensus of the board that would like to require the tip certificates of all employees prior to the issuance of the license. There's a certification of the tips training.
There is I was just looking through the files and the board was discussing the action, and there is a server training certification that states that 100% of the employees of blank establishment have completed approved server training, except for those employees who are within 30 factory staff. So there is one of the factories establishment dated November 17th, 2004, indicating that there are 2 employees that in fact they are trained for service.
What we'd like to see is a copy of the
We
certificate.
want a copy of it.
We want a copy of the certificate.
The certificate
Because that'll
doesn't go on forever.
That'll give an expiration date or when it was issued. I think it'll look for 2 or 3 years.
I agree, and certainly, anytime people are signing up for certifications, there should be some cracks in the key, that they're signing under penalties of perjury, so that if in fact they're untrue, they can be actioned.
Let me ask just something else, though. I think that it's all well and good to ask for the certificates, okay? But I think if we're going to make it, what we're saying here, which is that we are, okay, is that it's a requirement to be up to lease. We want to make it a requirement to be up to lease. I think probably we ought to make that clear.
I think
You know what I'm saying?
it's
Say
already
everyone's
part of
tips.
our policy. I think we're requiring it anyway, but all we're requiring is to sign off that they are.
Right. We want to see it,
But we're not requiring them
to see it, to show it.
to give us a copy of it. Which would
Now
trigger
we're-
So you're saying we're already requiring, we currently, we are
We
requiring
currently
current?
require them to sign off that they are certified, 100% certified tips trained, which they're signing off on.
Now
But
we
they're not
want to see
proving it,
Now
other
we
than
want to see it.
they said so. And I think if they have to dig for it, that will trigger something.
Well, sure, sure.
But, yeah, we should probably notify them earlier and now so that if there's some training programs or
They can get it going.
even through the police department. Previously, the liquor establishments used to do it amongst themselves, get a tips training going together and bring someone in and do everybody in town or offer each other. I think if we send out an informational letter, I was going to be asking for the certificates of the employees, so they might get it done.
Yeah, and give them ample time,
They give them-
give them time to conform. Okay, we have a meeting with Mr. Hanlon. Want to give us a report on the town hall space building needs?
Thank you. The town should, on the project. The task was multifold. It was first of all to address the existing space needs on the assumption that we are staying here over the long haul as a town hall. The second then would be to look at the future and our additional space needs over the next 20-year period. And in the same light, because we know what we have a school, slab, flat roof construction, which is not typical for long-standing buildings in New England. And you've also created a town hall out of the school, and anybody that's spent any time here knows that it's just not a match between the air quality, heating, ventilation, all that goes with it. And now the IT being hardware, at least, being put into this building. So we also had, as you remember, some incidences last year where we had to evacuate 2 sections of town hall because of roof leaking issues and extensive mold problems. So that was the icing on the cake, so that the project was assigned on that basis to Kevin. And of course, as a comparison, it was just, okay, if we're going to be in this building and we invested, so it's good for 20 plus years out, compare that to a cost of a new building if in fact we could build a building without acquiring land, that we have land and we were just going to build a building to make some sort of financial comparison. So with that, I would ask Kevin to go through the details of the survey itself.
Kevin?
Thank you. I think I should stand up. I know each of you have this
We have,
copy of the survey.
we had
I'll
ample time to go through it.
I'll run through it briefly, just so we can state for the citizens what was involved in the study process, and then I'd be welcome to take any questions you might have. As with any good report, it starts off with an executive summary, which laid out the process that took place over the last 4.5 to 5 months. And the narrative talked about, I'll use a little bit of the detail momentarily, the narrative talked about the age of the building, which indeed the original construction is 1957, and there was a small addition. In fact, this room is part of that small addition that took place in 1968. So in effect, 90+% of the building is almost 50 years old. The existing conditions, then it's up to us to go through all the existing conditions of the building. We try to put photographs of samples of the roof and the walls and the windows and the floors. That's in there, as well as a description of what we found with that. The room data sheets that we prepared are our architects and engineers looking at each of the spaces and just trying to determine the adequacy or inadequacy of the space as we know it from an architectural and engineering standpoint. It doesn't get into the survey results until the next section, which we put out a survey to each individual that works in the building, gave them an opportunity to stress some of the areas, the likes and the dislikes, and what works and what doesn't work. And that included things outside the building, such as vehicular traffic and on-site parking, toilet facilities, common spaces, et cetera, and that's shown in the graph form. And of the 19 specific items, there was nothing, I think maybe one item, I think maybe location of the department was termed adequate, and everything else pretty much showed that they were not happy with the spaces that they were functioning. Section 7 was just the actual results, the written text of the staff surveys. Each of the department heads had an opportunity to write some of the specifics where their space may be lacking in terms of size, and how they relate to the public, and how they don't have a private conference space. So that was section 7. 8, as Dave indicated, we started to talk about some options. And any good study that looks at the renovation of an existing building, if it follows its right course, it has to give a comparison. Well, what if the renovation of the existing building is so expensive that it makes sense just to build it new? So we started that process in section 8 and followed that through in section 9, which started, you'll see some detailed cost estimates. As detailed as a study can get, 4.5 months is not a lot of time to go through and create all this information and then make a cost estimate. But from our experience in working with these type of buildings, what we determined was the cost factor understanding that if you renovate this building, the staff and the citizens cannot remain in the building. It's too tight of quarters, it needs an addition, it needs all the spaces added to, renovated. It would be somewhere in the order of 7.1 million plus or minus, because you have to find temporary rental space as well. And then to build a new building, we only looked at this site. Now, there may be other sites available, but our task was only to compare it to a new building if it was to remain on site. The fact is, this originally was a elementary school building, there's a ball field out back, relatively flat, and we looked at that from a size standpoint, and it could receive a new building. Now, the new building, we're saying, looking at the staff surveys, analyzing the building, looking at conditions, this building sits at about 24,000 square feet, and it's not adequate for the spaces within the building. It looks like another 7,000 square feet would meet the proper needs of the town hall, meet the needs of the department staff from our survey, give some common space, give some meeting space for the public. And the 31,000 was the number we compared right across the board, both in terms of renovation additions here and building a new facility at the back of the site as well. And all we tried to do in that regard is just show that that $1.5 million so of differential, by way of comparison, we prepared a sketch at the back, a plan and elevation, just as a start, to give some sense of what it would be like. And as Dave indicated, yes, it is New England, and a school building like this works very well as a school building. It's U-shaped. And there may be some people that live in the town that haven't been to the town hall, but a U-shaped building for a school works fine. The third grade teacher might be on one wing, the first grade teacher on the opposite wing, and they don't need to relate to each other ever, either during the day or during the year. But you have departments in this building that are in opposite wings of the building that really should be across the hall from each other. So when we did sketch up a new building, following the normal design scheme for a town hall, we did two things. We put a double-loaded corridor, meaning the standard construction, we'd have a main corridor and offices across from each other, so it would be convenient to the public and it convenient to the staff to intercommunicate. And as Dave also indicated, we put the design to show a pitched roof, a standard New England construction, a monumental look in a colonial motif with a pitched roof that is far more suited to New England. Sometimes with the size of commercial buildings, you can't help but put large flat roofs and have to put all the mechanical equipment on the roof. In this case, a new building would have a separate boiler room and mechanical equipment would be in the basement level, which this building does not have. This building is a slab on grade. And that's part of the problem that we discovered. There's a high groundwater table, there's wet carpeting, there's moisture that comes up through the slab. It may be that there wasn't a polyethylene vapor barrier under the slab during the original construction. So that's just one of the problems that coexist in here that would be very difficult to change. You could renovate all the spaces, but short of digging up the entire concrete slab and repouring it, and that would probably push the cost probably unattainable. So we didn't even look at doing that. We said you could try to go around the perimeter, waterproof the, put like an area drain around it, try to do some water treatments out there, try to redirect some of the groundwater, but in rates we didn't know what you would end up with under the slab. That's just one part. You have considerable leaky roofs, you have old steel windows, there's a number of areas there's mold in the building, there's asbestos tile and asbestos insulation in a number of locations, lead paint, the outside masonry is showing its wear. The building's 50 years old. To be honest with you, the maintenance on the building has looked good for that time period, both when it was a school and when it was a town hall. I think there's been great efforts to maintain the building, but the infrastructure itself, the mechanical system, the plumbing system, the electrical system, once you're getting to the 50 years old, there's all new technology, the wires have dried out, the mechanical systems are outdated, so you're really throwing good money after bad, and there comes a point, just like if you were in your own home, where the system just has to be replaced or else it's just not going to perform adequately to meet your needs. The other big key here is that the Architectural Access Board of Massachusetts, if you exceed 30% of the assessed value,